It's an All-Ireland hurling final goalkeeping extravaganza for you now. We're going to speak with David Harity in a few minutes, but I'm delighted to say Limerick legend Joe Quaid is with us now. Joe, good morning to you. How are you getting on?
Good morning, Joe. All good.
What's the level of excitement / fear / nerves like at the moment for you?
Look, it's fine at the moment. I suppose the fact that it's only a 2-week build-up, it's a bit strange in comparison to other years. But what people forget, Joe, is that I was part of that 45-year heartbreak and wait for an All-Ireland. So we won't take anyone for granted, believe me.
I was saying as well a little bit earlier on that 40,000 last year at the All-Ireland final, it was a little bit surreal. There was a good atmosphere, but the atmosphere will be absolutely feverish this week in comparison, because it's going to be an outpouring. It's going to be a full stadium and there's so much on the line, and the game wasn't close last year as well, so you knew by half time that it was a victory. It'll be a little bit different and perhaps a bit more meaningful even this year.
Oh, believe me, Ger, every All-Ireland we win is meaningful, and I actually hope it turns out the exact same as last year. Believe me, I think once you hit the 50 mark, you become more cognizant of your heart health. And believe me, after being above there in 18 with the last couple of minutes, I would gladly take a repeat of last year's All-Ireland. Oh, I don't think it will happen, but yeah, I would gladly take it.
Fair enough. One of the things we did want to talk to you specifically about was David Reedy's performance. You obviously know him very well. You managed him when he was hurling with Kildare. What kind of a character is he that has allowed him to go from that to this, where he was a key man in an All-Ireland semi-final that was right in the balance?
I don't think he's gone from that to this. He was always a talented hurler. I think he was just surplus to John Kiley's requirements in 2016. And to be fair, when I was with Kildare, we were allowed to bring in outside players. I didn't want to. I was against it. But our panel was fairly thin on the ground that year. And the players actually came to me and said, can you strengthen up the panel a bit? So I made inquiries. They found out David and his brother Michael were living in Kildare. So I rang him. He said he was surplus to John Kiley's requirements. And I said to him, look, why don't you come up? I said, and play with us. It'll keep your name out there, and maybe you might get back into the Limerick setup the following year. No, he was phenomenal for us. He just fitted in to the squad unbelievably well. And you know what? If anything, I suppose bringing a guy of that talent in, it upped the level of performance from the homegrown Kildare lads, because I know they're fierce, proud people up there, and they didn't want the Limerick lad coming in a train and giving them a skin, and so it helped on all fronts. Both himself, his brother Mikey, and John Mulhall coming in as well. Like, I think it was just the quality of players that we got in. Usually it would be players that would be kind of past their sell-by date, but to get a guy in that was young and was just off a Limerick senior panel was probably unusual, and I'd say he's probably the only one ever to play with another county and come back and win an All-Ireland again.
Well, I suppose when I was asking from that to this, like he had been deemed surplus, so obviously something happened that year that got his love back and kept him in and kept him interested and kept him doing the strength and conditioning work that you need to do if you are going to be able to rejoin this Limerick panel in particular.
Well, the one thing he did say when he was finished with us was that the training that we were doing above at Kildare was practically the same as Limerick were doing. So that kept him fit, and it's the same for all second-tier counties, really, that the effort they put in is no different to the top-tier counties, regards training and pitch sessions and stuff like that. But look, he's very disciplined. I was absolutely thrilled for him the last day. Some days he comes on, he'll pitch in with a point, he might hit a wide or two with it, but by God was the radar on last week, and I'd love to claim full responsibility for him practicing above in Hawkfield in Newbridge. That was the reason why.
Why not? Sure, Joe, we may as well. It's all on a final build-up. Anything goes until afterwards. The performance of the team this year has been good but not great, and it looked like they were missing the influence of Cian Lynch. We're hearing rumours that perhaps he might be gone for the game at the weekend. They've managed this far without him, and yet it would have been amazing if they could have sprung him after not having him because of the hamstring injury up to the final, because it would have been a couple of weeks before the semi-final and a couple of weeks into the final, and who knows how much his eye would have been in. So what's your instinct about where the team is without Cian this weekend?
Well, they're in an All-Ireland final without Cian. Himself and Peter Casey, having them come on the last day was a huge boost. But I suppose, you go back, it was David Reedy that stood up to the plate and got the 3 important scores. No, will he be a loss? Jesus, like a Huller Deer missing. He's got Huller Deer twice. Any team would struggle to cope with that. But I think John Kiley and the lads have this kind of motto, and there's nobody bigger than the team. And if Cian can play, I'm sure his influence throughout the dressing room and out on the pitch will be felt. He's just a super guy, apart from being just one of the most gifted hurlers that I've ever seen and worked with. He's just capable of doing anything, but he will bring something special to the day, even if he can't play, just from his presence being around.
Okay, off the field you can definitely see how important it will be, like, and what a character he is. You know, there's an X factor to him. On the field, what difference would it make not being able to call on him, do you think?
Well, look, we've tried a few centre forwards there. One of the things was it would give Brian Cody a few headaches. Like if you're sitting down and trying to plan for a final, and you have someone like Cian Lynch on the pitch at the moment, he doesn't know whether he will or he won't have him. Who picks him up? Who doesn't pick him up? Will he start? Won't he start? Like the other side of it is, I suppose the rest of the forwards, maybe Gerard Hegarty and Tom Morrissey, haven't hit the peaks that they have so far in the last few years. And I might possibly put that down to the fact that Cian Lynch isn't in there pulling the strings and orchestrating all the plays. No, to be fair, young Cathal O'Neill was thrown in at the deep end against Waterford when Cian came off. Like, for a young fella to go in, you'd say, okay, shove him in wing forward, shove one of the more experienced guys in centre forward. But I remember that night inside Limerick, he was looking for every puck out off Nicky Quaid. He wasn't afraid to shoot. You know, you have the option of putting Kyle Hayes in there. He won an All-Ireland in 18 at centre forward, that young Huller the year there. So we're not short on replacements, but what we certainly don't have another team in the country is a wizard like Cian Lynch that can just unlock teams in the space of a couple of plays.
Yeah, so you've got to plan for something entirely different if you don't have him. The performance of Kyle Hayes down the stretch in the semi-final as well was absolutely sensational, and there's something magnificent about him in full flight. You know, we've seen him running onto the ball from deep. You know, you think of the Munster final last year against Tipperary in the second half, that incredible goal, but and then this year it looked like it was going to be a totally different year from in the full forward line, and then all of a sudden as the season goes on we're like, actually centre forward with him finding a little bit of space. It's a completely different challenge that he faces, or that he poses for Kilkenny. How do you think it'll match up if he does drop deep and start running onto the ball with Richie Reid's desire to kind of hold centre?
Well, that's the game plan they come up with, and they want one Kyle dropping deep. I can guarantee one thing, there won't be any ball driven straight down the middle, down on top of Richie Reid. I suppose Limerick's game plan has been flood the middle area and work the ball through, deliver good quality ball into the inside forward line. I suppose Galan was on fire the last day. I think 4 out of the other 6 forwards were taken off, and we still were able to get over the line. So I don't think anybody can really rest in their laurels. To me, there's a few lads that need to step up their performance, and will want to step up their performance. They would have been disappointed. There's probably a lot of the markers that John and the lads have laid down that weren't hit in the semi-final. But I suppose, look, the last 2 All-Irelands, Limerick have saved their best performance of the year for the finals, which is great. So you'll be hoping that they've timed their run right again. Everyone was giving out about them in the league, but they can't. But John and the lads timed their run to championship perfectly. I can't see why we would doubt them timing their run to the All-Ireland final perfectly as well.
Talk to me about Nicky's influence on the team. You know, you said there, for one thing for sure, he won't be banging ball down on Richie Reid. We know that for sure. His evolution as a goalkeeper has been a key turning point in the team. You know, like if you're going to play the game that Limerick want to play, you need somebody who is intensely accurate and very focused on accuracy from the puck out, and he is as good as there's ever been at that.
Absolutely. I suppose you've two of the best goalkeepers ever to play the game out on show on Sunday. Owen Murphy is probably the top shot stopper in the game, and Nicky is probably the best distributor of the ball in the game. Like how a goalkeeper in matches can find wing forwards, centre forwards, midfielders in 20, 30, 40 yards of space is just phenomenal. I don't know, in my day it was get it as far away as possible as you can, goals, but he's just become the conductor of the orchestra. And if you watch him when he's ready to take puck outs, he'll never hit one unless there's a purpose to it or it's going to a specific place. Sometimes balls go out over the line from his puck out. I wouldn't be too surprised if there was nothing on, and they do that on purpose so that they're down the field and they get the reset and force the oppositions to make a play. But he's just been phenomenal. It's actually sickening at times, Ger. He makes it look so bloody easy. It's just come so naturally to him. He's just such a laid-back character. And one thing as a goalkeeper, I suppose it's great to have is an inner self-confidence, and he has to have that. He's just been phenomenal. I suppose he hasn't really, in my opinion, and I'll be totally biased on this, got probably the individual accolades I think he deserved. I think the game has changed down through the years, and the main focus of the goalkeeper is not now shot stopping, which it was in my day. No, it's the whole package, and I don't think does anybody challenge him on that front, to be honest.
What is it about his puck outs? What when he's in goals, and is it that there's so much practice done with the forwards who are making the runs? Is it that he's actually able to spot the shape of the run at just the right time to release, so that he knows that by the time the ball lands, the run that started as I was making my run as the goalkeeper to puck the ball out, that these two things in parallel are going to release somebody into space? How does that work?
I presume it's just repetitive at training. I remember talking to one of the players last year after the final, and I was just talking about Nicky Tim, and he said, if you point there, he said, for the ball, he said, you better be there because the ball will arrive. You know, so I presume it's a massive understanding between them. But he's just so confident as well on short puck outs. Like we've seen, I suppose, nearly more blunders in goals this year than I've ever seen in a championship, and it's something that you won't be able to see, I think, on Sunday with the two best keepers in the country there. But he's just so accurate, and he doesn't do panic. If you look back and you see your goalkeeper panicking, or if you see indecision, I think he makes a call when he has the ball in his hand. If you watch him, he's constantly looking up. He'll wait. If it's on quick, he'll get it out quick, and that's something Kilkenny will really have to watch, I think, because while Mikey Butler will probably be put on Galan, to be honest, if you have 5 Mikey Butlers marking on Galan and Limerick get a quick restart and get a long ball in front of Galan is unmarkable, in my opinion. You put proper ball in front of him, he's unmarkable, because he hits the ball off his left, off his right, over his shoulder, and even if you're touch tight up his back, you can't get across to knock him down. So to me, Nicky's quick restarts are nearly as important as his long balls into space, because if he gets the ball out in 2 or 3 seconds after it going wide or that. Puts it into Barry Nash or one of the lads, the Ever Burns, that can just ping ball. They'll take half the Kilkenny team out of the equation, and then you're down on a one-on-one situation. And to be honest, I don't think there's anybody that can hold like of him on his day.
No.
And as was proven in the Munster final, if you do hold him to a couple of points, you have the likes of Seamus Stradigan, who was off the pace, I suppose, after a blistering start the last day. He popped in with 8 points the day of a Munster final. So, and then you have to look at Peter Casey, who possibly will start or come off the bench, who was in line for man of the match in last year's All-Ireland after only 20 minutes with 5 points.
I just to last bit about Nicky. We had Tommy Walsh in studio yesterday, and in fairness, in terms of giving credit, he remembered the All-Ireland semi-final against Cork, and I've just looked up the video to make sure I get this correct. It's 1:26 apiece. There's 72 minutes on the clock, 4 minutes of stoppage time being played, and the ball falls to Seamus Harnedy on the edge of the square, and he has it thrown up to tap it into the back of the net to win the game for Cork, to stop what was going on with Limerick, to stop the notion of them being one of the greatest teams of all time, to halt them in their tracks. And out of nowhere, Nicky comes flying and just knocks the ball away. Game goes to extra time, Limerick win the All-Ireland, and this whole thing starts. So I think everybody does understand that without him, this wouldn't exist.
Well, that wasn't even to stop us in our tracks, Joe, because we hadn't even got on the railroad yet. We were just making progress. I suppose we'd finished, I think, third in Munster that year, from my recollection. We got to the semi-final, barely got over Kilkenny in the quarter-final. To be honest, if I think it was Robbie O'Flynn hit the ball in, if Robbie O'Flynn had put the ball over the bar that day, I think we were beaten. But that's Nicky's, I suppose, from years of playing out the field. Nicky's a hurler. I wouldn't call him a goalkeeper or an outfield player. Nicky is just a supreme, sublime, silky hurler with a great hand in him, great skill level, and the greatest part of all is his decision making. Like, he could have come out that day and thrown his body in front of it, which is probably what I would have done and got a belt of it. But he kept his eye on the ball all the time. He was watching it. Donald O'Grady from Cork, I don't know whether it was his bitterness or what was coming through. He said it wasn't a save, it was a flick. So if you're inside in goals and you prevent a goal, to me it's a save. And that was really probably the pivotal moment in this Limerick people's journey. It started there. Cork wasn't trying to knock us off the rails. As I said, we hadn't been even on the track, but that got us on the track. The All-Ireland kept us going down the line, and to be fair, it's a train that bar Kilkenny in 19, nobody has able to derail.
It's an unstoppable juggernaut now, and we'll see what happens at the weekend.
Well, I disagree with that, Ger. There's been many a good train and many a good ship that has sank, that said they were indestructible. So, look, we'll be going up with massive hope. I know I was watching Heritage this morning, and he's probably going to come on now and tell Limerick are massive favourites and Kilkenny are the big underdogs and all that. So if you believe that, you'll believe anything. Kilkenny never go into a match thinking they're underdogs. No, the only worry I have, Ger, is I've always had, I'm not a betting man, but I always said if I was, I were back against Kerry or in football or Kilkenny in hurling in All Irelands. But I'm hoping that I'm wrong on that one.
Well, we'll see. Joe, great spending some time with you this morning. Thanks a million. That was lovely. Cheers.
No bother. Thanks, Ger.